Greetings, class. The purpose of this video is just to give you a bit of a tour of the navigation of D2L and the online environment, especially those of you who would find this new. First of all, finding a lot of your information online, but also really the entire class being online. So if you've made it to this video, excellent. You've made a great first step. You figured out how to log into D2L, and you got to this main page, and you started to navigate the first couple things you see. So we're going to start with this. This is the home page for the course, and I'm going to actually point out some things towards the bottom here. These would be what we would call the widgets for the class, and so there's 4 or 5 that would show up for you. This is new, so you'll see some announcements in here, like the welcoming announcement. Over here, the calendar, and you'll see upcoming events like due dates, things like that. Also, usually it's collapsed to start, but if you open that up, you'll see the calendar, and you'll see some bold on dates when maybe something's happening. There's a holiday for the school, or something's due. You can change months, and you'll see how certain dates are in bold at that point. Down below that, here's the content browser. We'll come back to that in a little bit. That's where you can find your way through some of the course. One of the ways you can do that. Paging down a little more, this course utilizes MyMathLab from Pearson, and this is one way to get into that. I'm going to talk more about that in a different navigation tour. Down here, if there's any updates, they'll be there, and then for you as a student, your Google Apps might be linked in right here also. Now, one thing I should point out is the course is in its final stages of construction. So, for example, this says Academy Shell. That's because the design's being finished up, but it'll have the name of your course here. So, while I take you through this tour, you might see a couple things that'll look ever so slightly different than when you're in the course, but that's just because they haven't quite been altered yet. Let me take you to the top here. The top, this is known as the navigation bar or the nav bar. So this provides some quick links to different areas in the course. Again, here's another way to get into MyMathLab. I'll talk about that later. Up here's a glossary, and when you open that glossary up, it just walks you through a lot of the common terminology that you'd encounter in a college algebra course. The resources tab, I will use this for attendance if it was a course that was brick and mortar, and you'll find some other just student resources that you would want to find. If you want to just make your way to the library out of here, you can do that. You can open up the calendar from here. And there's some like tutoring help through the resources tab. In communication, you can get directly to discussions. There's going to be some discussions throughout the course, and you can get there this way, and you'll see them. Now, what I recommend is you just really go through the content area to get that, because it'll get you to the right place at the right time going through content. The other thing you might notice is you might start clicking in some things and you feel like, I'm lost, I don't know where I'm at. Well, up here in the upper left on the nav bar is Course Home. So if you're ever like, get me out of here, press Course Home, you're back to this opening page with the widgets. Under Assessment is where you can find your grades. And then in Content, you'll notice there's the Content browser down here, but up here under Content in the nav bar are 2 things. There's some checklists. So you go to the checklist, and if you want to see like, am I keeping up with everything? There's 7 modules. And there's kind of like checklists where you can just say, yeah, I read the module overview. I read the module summary. I went through all the lesson content. And you can keep track of what you've done throughout the course. Again, the module checklist might look slightly different here when you get in the course, but it's going to be at the same place. All right, take me back home. You can work within the content browser right here if you want. So you might have found your way through the news area, or right here with Start Here. Clicking on that, and you can find your way through just parts of the course here. So if you're here watching this video, you went into course navigation. Well, there's nothing here right now. That's because I'm recording it while we're looking at it together here. You can head back to Start Here, and if you notice, it didn't take you back home. Well, now it took you into the content area. So again, if you feel lost, you can head back to your course home. But I think while you're working through the course, the main place you're going to be when you're looking at receiving your instruction and just finding things is going into content and choosing content. When you do that, you're going to be taken to the entire content area, and it's going to tell you on the left here, a table of contents. You've got your 7 modules in addition to the Start Here module, and you can just click over here and it takes you between the modules. So in Start Here, you're really at the beginning of this, but you'll be working your way down through this material and then entering the first module. So in there's going to be four, subsections within the module. There's the overview, the lesson, activities you need to do, and then a summary to kind of wrap it up. And so when you work through that, you're going to want to start by just reading the module overview. It's going to tell you some objectives, some other information about the module, and then one page to the right, a little introduction which tells you which sections from the text, and a little bit of other information about it. Now, you can check your tree here of links, and you can just make your way back, to the module if you want this way. Again, you don't always have to bail out and go all the way home, but you can make your way into the module. The lesson area is where you're going to find all of your content. Okay, so there's going to be typically, 4 subsections here. The first one just kind of reiterates what parts of the book, because again, we are following the text that you'll see in the syllabus, and at times you might say, what are the resources for that? Well, that'll give you kind of a guideline as to what specific content we're looking at. Up here with these arrows, you can navigate to the next item without going back to one of the main modules or submodules. So I can arrow right, and it took me right to instructor lessons, which if I go back over here to the left to the main part of the module, all it did was bump me over here to instructor lessons. So instructor lessons is where you're going to hear some screenshot lessons. You're going to hear me, and at times you're also going to hear one of my colleagues. Mrs. Lloyd will also provide some of the lesson instruction via the instructor lessons. So what you're going to want to do here is when you click, you're going to find that there is an embedded video that you can watch right here online, or you might have to click out and watch it on YouTube. I really recommend going through all of the instructor lessons through the course. Once you make your way through those, after the instructor lessons, I've included what it says is text PowerPoints, and those text PowerPoints are just that. They're PowerPoints created by the publisher. And so what they do is they walk you through just some of the key bullet points. So what you'll find here is you won't find examples, you won't find any kind of overview. It'll just be in text version. Whoops, I clicked to the right there, I went to the next PowerPoint. What you really want to do is you can scroll down through them, and what they provide is key information, the title, the headings. They'll define some words for you, and they might give you any appropriate or important formulas or equations that go with that section. After that, we'll head back to the lesson here, and after that we've got the activities. And the activities is going to tell you about your discussions posts you have. So there's going to be a graded discussion in each module, and then one other discussion where you can just, it's kind of optional. If you have questions that you need to pose, you can put it out there. There'll also be some information here with like quizzes that you need to take to complete the module. And then in the summary, it kind of gives you a little bit of a wrap-up. You've got some wrap-up information, and then also the checklist you can access here. So that's what can be a little tricky for people sometimes, or confusing. Up here in the nav bar, that can take you places. So you can get to your checklist, or you can get to all of the discussions, but you can also find them really in context by just working through the actual material. If you don't want to bail totally out to Course Home, but you want to kind of make your way back to the content, you just click on Table of Contents right here, and it takes you back again to the big picture where you can see all of your modules, submodules, and you can work your way through it. And when you make your way to the end, to the matrices, you'll have finished up the course. Okay? So, if you have any questions about navigation, please don't be afraid to email me. I can help walk you through it. And if you go to the start here, there's a spot for general course questions. You're welcome to pose questions in that discussion post about how to navigate and how to work your way through the course. Good luck.